family, please continue to eat, enjoy your dessert, and I'm open to trades depending on what kind of pie you have as well. But please continue to enjoy your meal as we get the festivities underway. It's a great honor for me to be standing before you today and to be able to present these four members of the inaugural Rogers State Athletics Hall of Fame. A great day it is on the Hill. And in February of 2006, RSU President Dr. Joe Wiley made a decision that would have a long-lasting impact on the university. One way or the other, it was going to have a major impact. That decision he made was naming Ren Baker as the first official athletic director of Rogers State University, as well as the men's basketball head coach. As RSU prepared for an era to begin in the NAIA and the Sooner Athletic Conference, everything needed to go right. There was no margin for error. Everything had to be perfect and done the right way. Not only did Ren have the responsibility of the department and running the men's basketball program, he immediately had to begin the search for a women's basketball head coach. One that proved to be one of many smart decisions Ren would make, as she's now coaching Division I basketball and led Rogers State to multiple national tournaments and has won conference championships. In Ren's first season as the head coach of the men's basketball team, the program's first, he won 20 games, which for a startup program, if you go out there and don't get embarrassed on a nightly basis, that's considered a victory. To go out and win 20 games in the Sooner Athletic Conference was nothing short of remarkable. And I don't think anybody who saw it in person will ever forget it. He hired coaches throughout his time at Rogers State who would go on to win conference championships, win tournament championships, would have All-American student athletes, coaches who would lead their programs to #1 national rankings and to multiple national tournaments. Beyond the accolades and the success that Ren Baker led Rogers State University athletics to in his time here, he's got an unrivaled ability to make other people better. And anybody who's ever spent more than 5 minutes with him knows that, more importantly, he knows how to make people feel like they belong and feel like they have value. Nobody is left out when Ren Baker has been running the show. And for people who have gone on to great careers, whether it be in administration, in coaching, in teaching, in broadcasting, for myself, they don't give their list of thank yous of who they have to credit without adding Ren Baker to the list. And before leaving in early 2011, he had already put the wheels in motion for RSU to make the transition to the NCAA and Division II, where we stand now, and have already claimed multiple conference championships and won national title. Ladies and gentlemen, Ren Baker.
Well, it is so great to be back on the Hill, and what an honor. So many great friendly faces, and this is really a special time. First, congratulations to my fellow honorees. Robin, it was a great pleasure to be your athletic director and watch you have so much success. And Eddie Jackson, I believe, Coach Larkin, we could have coached that team of success with Robin. Steve Crawford, who has had a tremendous career here, but also professional career. Congrats, Steve, and I think it's awesome to pay homage to our former institutions on this hill. And so I think it's really cool for the rest of us to be here with you. And then I'm going to talk more about Coach Bradley, but there's certainly nobody more deserving to be in the Hall of Fame than Coach Bradley. I'd like to thank my friend Chris Ratcliffe and his staff for the special event today. And I know it takes a lot to put these on, especially the first. Somebody who had a chance to do the first a few times here. And as Ryan Bradley will tell you, I would just always famously say, don't worry about it, it'll run itself. And so, and for me it pretty much did. I just left it for everybody else to do, so that worked out. I have some family here today, and I want to recognize them. My one and only sibling, my brother Ray, here, and his two daughters, Alex and Lizzie, So me and my brother had daughters at about the same time. So the two oldest are 6 months apart, and the two youngest are 10 days apart. Is that right? Okay. So, and then my stepfather, Lee Slater, my mother, Pam. And so my mom raised two boys. We were 2 years, 4 months apart. We fought every single day. And so she never had a couch that the legs weren't broken off of. And so we owe her a lot. We try to repay her. And then my two daughters, Addison, who's 11, if you want to feel old. Heather was pregnant with Addison when we left here. So life comes at you fast. And then Reagan, who is 8. And then Heather, my wife, is just such a great partner and friend. And loved it here so much. She was a student recruiter here. And I think they tolerated me to get her. There was record enrollment every year she was on the staff here. So they needed it to replace the car fleet. She did wreck a car as a student recruiter. I'll pay for that. She was sitting at a stop sign and got rear-ended. So she takes great exception to me saying she wrecks the car. We've debated whether I can keep that in the speech or not. I just got up here and let it fly. So, and then there's a lot of other donors and supporters and friends who are here. And you know who you are, but Larry and Teresa Green is here. Great friends of ours. One of our first supporters. And not only were they friends and supporters here, I think they're one of the few people that made it just about everywhere we've ever went. So they've had free lodging all over the country as I've moved Heather and our family around. And you know, Stratton Taylor is here. Senator Taylor, you'll always be Senator Taylor to me. So Stratton and Carolyn both did so much for this university. I want to say thank you very much for everything that you did for me personally and the university. Chad Choate was one of our very first supporters, and he and Larry both also employed my wife for a time, so we are indebted for that as well. And so many other great supporters. I could go on and on. Paul Pixley, Frank Robson, Steve C, some of the stalwarts of this community jumped on board with us early when there really wasn't a compelling reason to do other than caring for your community. So you don't forget those kind of things. The administration that's here, certainly President Rice and I had a long-term friendship and remain in contact, and I appreciate all the work he's done here. Joe Wiley, who hired me here, I was a middle school principal when I got this job and a high school AD in Valiant, Oklahoma. And I don't know why he hired me. I didn't really have any strong connections or know anybody. But he called me out of the blue one day and he said, hey, Coach, you know Joe Wiley, he's from Ardmore, he's got a little accent. My name is Joe Wiley, and I'm the president of the fastest growing university of Oklahoma. We're going to start athletics. And he said, we want a young, up-and-coming AD who can also coach basketball because I don't want to spend a lot of money. And so that was the first recruiting pitch, and somehow that turned into getting the job. Tom Volturo is here. Tom was the CFO. He may be the only university CFO that ends up getting into an athletic Hall of Fame. He was the money man. Most of those hairs that he's lost, I was responsible for. He kept saying, we're not Division I, man. And I said, well, we are NAIA Division I. So, but Tom was just an absolutely great friend. And then I'll just talk briefly about some of the coaches and staff. Many were here early, and many of them are here today. Eddie Jackson is here. Eddie reminded me so many times that he has a master's in how many hours towards your doctorate, Eddie? 15 hours towards the doctorate, so that he could cook hot dogs at softball next week. Out of a concession tent, out of a tent. So those were not glorious days necessarily, but they were fun. Sarah and Steve Braun, great friends, both worked here. Sarah just recently left. You were introduced to Don earlier, Don Tatro. Keith Martin, who was our FAR. Keith is over here in the corner. He gave that job up. Brian Andrews is with us. Coach Larkin is here. Coach Brown, who I'm going to gift some razors when we're done here. He left RSU. He hasn't shaved since, so I told him we should get his beard its own Twitter account. So I think that would be worthwhile. But Coach Brown was great, and then Justin Barkley. The Copes are here, Amy and Bobby, and Chris McCormick is here as well. So I'll talk a little bit about why it's important to acknowledge some of those folks here in a minute. But student athletes, if you were a student athlete on those first few years, please stand. I know Dez is here. I know Mark Pete is here. Anybody else, please stand. The early years of RSU, there were two sports when I was hired. I can mention that call I got from Coach from Joe Wiley. There was Bushy Head Fieldhouse, and there was nothing in it. It was an abandoned building except for one end that had a student rep center. And so we ran the program out of a business incubator. I don't know if it's still a business incubator, but it used to be over there on campus, all in one room. And appropriately enough, we were growing it as an incubator. I was writing press releases. Those of you that know me very well, that is not a strength of mine. And so Coach Bradley and I were talking one day. He goes, "Hey, are you going to hire an SID?" And I said, "Well, we need to." And he said, "Well, if you're going to, my son just graduated from Arkansas. You don't have to hire him because he's my son, but he's really a sharp kid." And so when I took the job here, Coach Bradley took me around and introduced me to everybody. He introduced me to Stratton. He introduced me to all of those people that I named earlier. And for that, I'm ever indebted. And he was the adult in the room many times for our program. And he was a mentor, a friend. He and Jill both were marriage counselors and relationships advisors and all duties assigned and unassigned. And so here's the truth of that. I hired Ryan Bradley because he was Ron's son. Coach, I know you said not to do that, but it was the best hire that I ever made. He has been one of my very best friends. He has been a tremendous asset as a life mentor, but certainly a partner in this business. I drug him to Memphis, I drug him to Missouri, and then he unhitched his wagon and now is Vice President of Alabama. That was such a great hire, and we did so many great things together with everybody else here. It wasn't always sunshine and roses. There was sweeping the dust from a rodeo next door during a basketball game, which was the second worst problem because we shared a concession stand, so the smell of manure, you didn't even notice the dust for the aroma and the odors that were in the building tonight. There were so many great stories like that, and we made mistakes, but they were aggressive mistakes, and we weren't afraid to recklessly pursue audacious goals. Like the Sooner Athletic Conference, everybody was telling us, start with somewhere easier. You don't want to jump in the Sooner. And I think all of us took that personally. We jumped into Sooner and have had success ever since. The power of courage, belief, a shared vision, and determination is what I learned here. I learned about alignment and working together. We all were on the same page. When I left here, I went to Northwest Missouri State, a really good Division II school. It was much harder to get change enacted there. And I was really surprised by that because I took for granted here how we all arrived at the same time and we were on the same page. And so I look back at that and think about how special that was. It took courage for the staff and the student athletes we brought here to come early on. I'm so thankful for your trust and your willingness to choose RSU. Maurice Rutherford was the first basketball player that signed here. I took him on a recruiting visit to the expo, and I would assume he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, by the way. But we walked in, and there were dogs everywhere. There was a dog show in the expo. I didn't look up the event calendar. I just thought we could go in there. So. Those were the kind of things. He still came here. I took him to a venue that was full of dogs, had no court, no scoreboard, and he chose to come here. So when you look back, you think about the belief it took in each other, that together we could accomplish some truly remarkable things. It took alignment and a shared vision for how we would get there. It took resiliency and determination to overcome obstacles that came our way. From the NAIA and the Senior Athletic Conference to the NCAA and Division II, wins, championships, and even a national championship team, our Division II softball national champions last year, have followed because of the hard work and the sacrifices that you made. I do not accept this honor today for myself because I didn't earn it. We collectively built this program. We earned it. So for all of you that I mentioned, and the hundreds more that I couldn't mention, and that couldn't be here, I accept on your behalf. You had the courage to come to a program that was selling hope. You had belief we could accomplish great things. You made the effort to help create a shared vision and the alignment to achieve great things. And lastly, you had the determination to see incredible things achieved. I am honored to accept on your behalf. I was privileged to serve this great institution. I so greatly appreciate the continued work of the coaches and the staff that followed me. Heather and I had the time of our life here, and we continue and always will be devoted Hillcat fans. This program changes lives and provides opportunities for young people to grow and develop. And this program deserves our support. Thank you so much for allowing me and my family to be here today and allowing us to be Hillcats. Thank you.
When Coach Ron Bradley joined RSU as the physical education coordinator in 2003, I'm pretty sure there was a meeting amongst high school coaches around the state, or more like a party, and they said, here's a toast. Bradley's gone, now we can all win more games. Because he won everything in high school baseball in Oklahoma, even won a state championship in Arkansas before that. Meanwhile at RSU, there was no athletic program, but the vision for one existed in the mind of the soon-to-be Hall of Famer. The formation of a club baseball team quickly led to RSU adding softball, and Bradley not only led the search for that coach, but he also orchestrated the construction of the Diamond Sports Complex in preparation for RSU to compete in the NAIA. Now, most startup programs, like I said before with basketball, you're trying to go out there and put on a respectable performance. You're happy to have uniforms or a water cooler. If you're lucky, you might get a few wins in your first handful of years. But after winning 28 games in just their second season of full competition, RSU won 35 in 2008 as a first-year member of the prestigious Sooner Athletic Conference. In 2011, the Hillcats won 45 games, won the conference tournament, and advanced to the NAIA National Tournament, which is not bad considering the program less than 5 years earlier was having practice behind Atwoods here in town. In 2012, the Hillcats once again made it to the NAIA National Tournament, where they swept the opening round in Hutchinson, Kansas, and advanced to the NAIA World Series. And it was in Lewiston, Idaho that RSU beat the #1 and the #2 ranked teams in the nation and advanced to the national championship game, ultimately finishing as the national runner-up with 49 wins. I was fortunate enough to be in Idaho on that trip, and I'll never forget hearing Coach Bradley talk to his team. And one of the things he said that's always stuck with me, and I can hear his voice in my mind saying it when it comes back to me, you can't live on yesterday's success. With all that he had won, all the games, all the state championships, all the awards, he never used that for any excuse or for any expectation of what should happen tomorrow. And true to his word, the Hillcats in 2013 once again made it back to the NAIA World Series. They hosted the opening round in the NAIA tournament and defeated Lubbock Christian to get there, which was an emotional ride for those in attendance. Many of you were, and you remember the energy flowing through the DSC that day. 281 wins, 3 national tournament appearances, 2 trips to the World Series, 2 Major League draft picks, 1 conference title. Those are the college baseball coach numbers. What we don't have exact numbers for, though, is how many people that Ron Bradley has positively influenced in such a way that they're making major impacts today in our society. How many people he's mentored that are doing remarkable things. And how many people went on to a better life because of all the energy that was poured into Rogers State by Ron and Jill. We're not gathered here today if it wasn't for a founding father of RSU athletics, Ron Bradley.
To give a speech, you just give my speech and Ren did the other half, so you'll have to forgive me if you hear some of those things again. It's truly an honor to be here today. I'm incredibly humbled and thankful to have so many people who are special to me with us, including my family. My wife, Jill, as you've heard Ren and Josh talk about, we've been married 45 years in August, and I'll talk a little bit about her in a minute, but and then my mom, Faith, she's always been a big encourager to me. My son, Ryan, picked him up last night at the airport, coming in from Tuscaloosa. My daughter, Leah, and her husband, Zach. Zach is an athletic trainer at Owasso High School for Coach Blankenship. Kayla spent her first 18 years, her birthdays were always at a baseball field. So she never had a birthday that wasn't in a baseball field until she was out of high school. My 2 brothers, Mike and Mark, they live in Northwest Arkansas. Their wives, Carolyn and Vicki. I'd be tempted to keep going, but it would take me an hour to recognize and thank all of those special people who are here today. Please know how much we love and appreciate each one of you. A little bit of background. I've been blessed to be at several great communities and great schools. But however, Claremore will always be our home. The 12 years that we spent at Rogers State University stands as part of the most memorable and rewarding times of Jill and I's life. We moved to Claremore about 40 years ago, and I can vividly remember dreaming about someday coming back up on this hill and starting athletics back. And I remember when Luther Martin was coaching baseball here, and they dropped the athletic program in the 80s. And so it was always a dream for me in the back of my mind, said, man, someday that'd be nice to start athletics back. At that time it was a junior college, and then they transitioned to a 4-year school. My friend Stratton Taylor, who is here today and was instrumental in eventually making that dream come true. He and his wife Carolyn have been champions for this community and RSU for decades. And it is truly not an exaggeration to say that I would not be standing here today if it wasn't for Stratton. President Joe Wiley hired me as the director of physical education. I think they just made that title up. The idea of bringing back student life on campus, because at that time it was more of a commuter college. And so we started an intramural program. And And then that spring, I decided to start a club baseball team, which was made up of students that were on campus. And that first year, as Josh mentioned, we practiced 2 days a week. We practiced on a youth field behind Athens. It had no fences. And we played 4 games that whole year. And we played in a men's tournament in Siloam Springs. And that was our season. And man, am I ever thankful for those young men that came and wanted to be a part of that and really set a foundation for the future. The next year, President Wiley came to me and said, here, we want to give you 6 tuition scholarships, go recruit you a team. And at that time, we were still a club team. We played 25 games, we practiced and played on any field that we could get on because we didn't have a field. We had no scholarships, no uniforms, no mascot. We truly, RSU, if I'm not exaggerating as far as it was really amazing to see the humble beginning that we started with. And that same year that we had that team, Coach Robert Brown came to me one day. We were practicing at Legion Field, and he said, hey, I just moved back to town. I've been coaching Division I baseball in Radford University in Virginia, and I heard you were starting a program, and I'd like to help you. I said, Coach Brown, I said, that sounds like a great idea, but I said, we have 0 money to pay you. But that did not deter him from being a part. For the next 16 years, Coach Brown was our pitching coach for our baseball team and did an unbelievable job. We eventually found a way to pay him for coaching and also for the grounds, taking care of the facility, thanks to Ren. But I could never repay you for the dedication and the expertise and the friendship. I'm honored that Robert, you and Sherry are here today, and I just want you to know how grateful I am for what you did for me in our program. The next couple of years, things really took off. Dr. Wiley hired Ren, as you heard, to be our AD, our first AD, our head basketball coach, and I'm thinking, wow, we're hiring a 27-year-old kid to come in here and lead this athletic department. I wasn't really sure what we were getting into, but it did not take me long, Ren, for you to win me over, to see what a great hire Dr. Wiley and at that time Tom Volterro in hiring Ren. And by the end of 2006, Ren led us to being accepted into the NAIA and the Center Athletic Conference, which, as Ren mentioned, it was one of the toughest, and still is one of the toughest NAIA conferences in the nation. Schools like Oklahoma City University, Lubbock Christian, Oklahoma Baptist, those 3 schools were really our biggest rivalries. And, you know, at that time, Ren recruited my son, Ryan, and Eddie Jackson to join his administrative staff. And together they began putting the wheels in motion to help us build the facilities and obtain the resources for us to build a competitive program. Ren's strong vision, relationship-minded, allowed us to go further and faster than we ever really thought possible. Eddie and Ryan were really the backbone of the operations. willing to do everything from cooking hot dogs, hiring bus drivers, setting up and tearing down tables that we use as our press box behind the backstop. And everything they did, though, was approached with excellence. They wanted our coaches and our players to have the best experience possible, and it really showed. Their passion and professionalism was one that made a huge difference, and I'm forever grateful to each of them for the countless hours they put in to build the program. I want to also thank Jimmy Rogers, who is here today. He was a teammate of Coach Brown's in high school. Jimmy played a couple of years in the Major League Baseball. Ryan Riddle, who is now a head coach in Virginia at a junior college, West Burster, who was a former player for mine at Claremore. They serving as assistant coaches and with no pay, but offered so much to me and our players through their experience and that they brought to our program. Also like to mention Steve Braun and Sarah Williams, who is now Sarah Braun. Trey Robertson, our first our athletic trainer, Dr. Martin, Keith Martin, Brian Andrews, Jared Hood, Josh Haley, Don Tetro, were also instrumental in supporting our program. Dr. Rice took over for President Wiley in 2008, and Vice President Tom Otero worked with Wren and his team to help procure the funding to build the facility that we have today. And it's one of the best Division II facilities in the country. I could spend hours recounting all the memories that we shared over the next 7 or 8 years. And some of them have already been mentioned. Winning the Sooner Athletic Conference in 2011, able to beat Oklahoma City to get to the finals, beating Oklahoma Baptist in the finals on Lubbock Christian's field was definitely a highlight. Followed up with the next year going to the World Series, beating the number 2 team along the way to get to the national title game. A couple of players here today. Lance Rimel's here with us, was a part of that team. Tyler Guthrie. What an experience. We have a player from Owasso, Brandon Vargas, who was a left-handed pitcher, struck out 18 hitters against the number 1 team in the country, which tied a national record. Lance has gone on, was drafted by the Cubs. He is also now managing in the Chicago Cubs organization. And so it's good to have you here with us today, Lance and Tyler. After that year, we completed the construction of our baseball facility, and we were able to host the first round of the national tournament at our place. And I remember the joy of beating Lubbock Christian on our field to go back to the World Series. I'm a dreamer, have always been, and these experiences exceeded even my wildest dreams, and that I thought we could accomplish. All of its credit to our players, our coaches, our staff, and community that embraced and supported our team. Lifelong friends, loyal fans like Stratton and Carolyn, Wayne and Joyce Walton, Chad and Misty Choate have always been such a big supporter. Longtime friends, Joy and Jane Dearman. I owe a special debt of gratitude to my wife, Jill. She's always worked tirelessly behind the scene, trying to do everything in the world to try to make me look good. She has always made a difference in our players. She always ensured that our players were cared for and loved, and she continues to stay connected with them and has really made a difference in so many of their lives, even today. Just in closing, I just want you to know this is a special place, full of special memories and special people. I'm so grateful to God that He chose to bless me and give me the opportunities to do what I love, and use my family to impact the young men who came through our program, and ultimately we hope it brought glory to Him. I hope that's what we've done. Thank you, Athletic Director Chris Ratliff, the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, for this honor. Thank you, congratulations to my fellow inductees, very well deserving of this honor. It's an honor to share this stage with you. And thank you everyone who made time to be here and honor us with your presence today. And I'm truly humbled and forever grateful for this experience. Go Hillcats.
Robin Sutherland came to RSU for the 2007 season, and she was already a proven and decorated college player. She only had one eligibility remaining, so taking a chance on RSU was indeed just that. And head coach Derek Larkin told me what a dream player to have dropped in that first year of the program's existence. She led RSU onto the field for the first ever game. And what she ended up doing should have been an indication to everybody of what was going to happen throughout the course of that season. It didn't take her 15 minutes to score the first goal in program history, and RSU won their first game as a program. One of 20 that they would win that season. Now, if you don't know about soccer, you don't play a 40 or 50 game schedule. They went 20-3 in year number one under Derek Larkin. And what she did was remarkable on the field and brought a lot of leadership to the program as well. RSU not only won 20 games, but they won the Sooner Athletic Conference Tournament Championship, the first ever conference championship in RSU athletics history. It'll always go down as the first. And to win in your first season, and like other sports, as we've talked about so far today, the Sooner Athletic Conference was tough in women's soccer. So to do that, it not only caught the conference and the region by storm, but it gained national attention for Rogers State athletics as a whole. People couldn't tell you where Rogers State was before, but they sure knew where it was after. After the Sooner Athletic Conference Tournament Championship, Robin led the Hillcats all the way to the region championship game. 44 goals, 12 assists in one season. She was only the 9th player in NAIA history to record 100 points in a single season. And her 44 goals at the time were the 6th most ever in a single campaign. She still holds the program record for points and goals in a single game, and probably always will have those along with many other records here at Rogers State. Derek Larkin said, "She's without a doubt the most impactful player that I've ever coached because her production in that first year brought RSU to the national stage, allows you to go into future players and recruit, and they know who you are because of what you're able to accomplish in year one. And it rapidly speeds up the process of where your program expects to be and then where they ended up actually being." Coach Larkin talking about Robin playing and how she was unassuming of her abilities. You score 44 goals in a season, in my opinion, you have a right to be a little bit cocky about it. Not her. Never took anything for granted. Still coaching in the community after her playing days were done, she was still contributing to RSU, sending a lot of great players to the program that she formed in the high school stages and went on to play here at Rogers State. The career record holder for points, goals, many other things, the great Robin Sutherland.
Thank you very much. I'm so humbled to be here today among these RSU legends. I just feel like I'm just in a league, but these guys are in a league on their without me, yeah, league of their own, really. I'm so nervous. I really appreciate the kind words from Coach Larkin. I don't know that the dream was always the dream throughout the season. We definitely had our ups and downs. Through preseason, I thought, what the heck did I do? Why am I here running 2 miles a day in 12 minutes? Because I didn't make it in 12 minutes. I actually started off at 14 minutes and then had to run it every day until I did make it in 12 minutes. Numerous, injuries, pulled hammies, whether they were real or not, quads, sore toes. But one of my favorite stories about Coach Larkin, and he said I wasn't really a very cocky player, but I did have a couple of very special moments. We had just beat Oklahoma Christian. They were a nationally ranked team. I think they were number 10 or number 12. We won 2-0, and I scored both of the goals. The next day of practice, everybody was sore. It was a hard-fought battle. He said, "Well, let's everybody get on the line. We're going to run some sprints." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not going to." And he said, "Well, you're going to get on the line and you're going to do what I say." "Yes, sir, I'm sorry." "And then you're going to meet me in the office after practice." So, a few tears and a little slice of humble pie. We got back on track, and I realized, my mindset changed. I realized that this program, this school, this community was obviously more about just me. It was about everything. It was a team effort. Coach Bradley and Ren, you guys said how, or explained how much work and commitment and dedication was put into the program, and I was just happy I could be just a small, special part of it. You guys really paved the way to allow the first, second, and third classes of student athletes to be successful, and I truly appreciate that. You guys have done an amazing job, and I'm very proud of your success, and always have been proud to be a Hillcat and will forever be a part of the Hillcat family. A special thank you again to Coach Larkin for allowing me to have the opportunity to play here for you. At this school, you've meant so much to me, done so much to me, second chances, and I know I gave you a ton of headaches, whether you want to admit it or not, I will. Self-awareness, I got it. But also a special thank you to my mom, who has always been my biggest fan. I'm from Northwest Arkansas, and we drove to Tulsa, I mean, countless weekends for years and years and years, just so I could be in this position that I am today, which I never expected to be here, standing before you. Special thanks to Eddie. I did see you out there cooking hot dogs and burgers. Tom and Larry and the rest of the athletic staff. You guys have just done such a remarkable job, and again, I'm just so proud to be a Hillcat and always be a part of this Hillcat family. Thank you.
In the mid-1970s, there was a multi-sport athlete dominating the competition while representing Salina High School here in Oklahoma. Baseball is taken pretty seriously in Mays County, especially in the summertime. It was on that American Legion scene that many coaches caught a glimpse of a remarkable talent named Steve Crawford. Among those coaches was Luther Martin of Claremore Junior College, and he knew that he had to have Crawford. And Steve was more than good enough to play college football, and as he told me, his brothers are the ones that really steered him in the path of baseball, which he's thankful for today. And RSU, then Claremore Junior College, was certainly glad that he chose baseball as well. With a 95 to 98 mile an hour sinking fastball, Crawford created some extra work for Coach Luther Martin, who told me he would have to go to the leather shop in Claremore sometimes twice a week to have their catcher's mitts repaired. That's how hard that guy threw. Not just a pitcher, though. Also played first base and had a ferocious bat during the 1977 and 78 seasons for CJC. The 1978 edition of the prestigious Allen County, Kansas tournament, Crawford put on a show, pitching a no-hitter with 15 strikeouts and hit a tape measure home run to lead them to the championship. More than 20 big league scouts were present at the regional in May, and all of them had serious interest and thought that he had first-round talent. Crawford ultimately signed with the Boston Red Sox, and in the baseball world, you can expect to be in the minors for a while if you ever are lucky enough to get a shot at the majors. But only 2.5 years after signing with the Red Sox, he made his major league debut. Later, in the 1986 American League Championship Series, the Red Sox were on the brink of elimination before staging a comeback against the Angels. It was Game 5, and Boston had called on Steve Crawford from the bullpen to get them out of a bad jam in the 9th inning. Crawford kept his team's season alive, allowing the Red Sox to ultimately claim an extra inning victory. And it was a line drive that he caught with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th that sent the game to extra innings and had Boston fans about lose their minds. In every baseball game, only one pitcher can be credited with the win. And in what many people still today call the greatest baseball game of all time, the winning pitcher was Steve Crawford. He pitched during 7 seasons with the Red Sox and 3 with the Kansas City Royals. But not only was he a great player, his former coach Luther Martin said he's an even better teammate and person. Steve Crawford.
Thank you, Josh, very much. First of all, I want to thank the good Lord. He's what gave me the ability to play this game. And I just thank him very much for that. My mom and my dad. My dad's the one got me started playing when I was 5 years old. And my dad passed away in 2005, but Mom's here. I love you, Mom. Thanks for putting up with it all these years. If it wasn't for him, Mom and Dad growing up on the farm for 20 years, being able to have the arm that did, be able to play the game. But I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee, and all the inductees, thank you very much, congratulations. And to Larry, me and a buddy of mine was up in Kansas putting our deer cameras out, getting ready to go hunt, all of a sudden, the phone rang, we down. Larry Rice, wonder what's he wanting, see what we're gonna find out here. So he came in and told me what was going on, and Larry, thank you. It touched me very well. And my buddy I was with, Bill, he said, "Boy, say something," because I was shocked. And I thought what I said, "Thank you very much, appreciate it." But thank you for that great phone call. Thank you very much. Coach Martin, thank you. From right here, thank you. You got me here. You came to this little town of Salina. And I still remember the first thing you told me, because I was catching. And I was catching, I had my hand in front. First thing he said was, "Don't ever put your hand in front. Always have your hand behind you when you're catching." I always remember that story. But I just want to say thank you and all the teammates I had with the Thunderbirds, Claremore Junior College. That's quite a while ago, 1977, 78. A long time. And I want to thank my brother Dick. He's here. His wife Linda. My wife Becky. Her sister Kathy. My daughter Jade. My sister Sandy. Her husband Dirk. And Taylor. This is where it gets tough. Bear with me, would you please? I lost one of my best friends 2 years ago to COVID. And if it wasn't for him and my other brother Dick, talk about my brother Bush. If it hadn't been for those two, I wouldn't be here right now. I would not be. I would have went on and played football. Football my number one sport. Baseball my number 3, third sport. But Dick and Butch came to talk to me. They said, "Brother," I said, "Yeah. I think you're going to have a better chance in baseball than you would in football." I already signed a letter of intent to play football. And, as my mentors, Dick and Butch, I agreed with them. And thank you, Lord Jesus, for letting me do it. Because I wouldn't be here. But Brother Dick's here. And in place of my brother Butch. And I want her to stand. And Vicky, stand please. So that's how I came a Thunderbird. That's how I came. Thank you. Glad I got that out of the way. But no, Major League Baseball, it opened a lot of doors for me. I became a pitching coach in the Kansas City Royals organization for quite a few years. And, being able to pitch in playoffs and World Series. I grew up in Kenwood, Oklahoma. Anybody ever heard of Kenwood? We were on a farm for 20 years. And so when I school in Salina, I consider Kenwood my hometown. We were up on Swing Creek. And I got to pitch in the World Series. And I said, go back to Coach Martin, thank you. David Butch, thank you. And I got to meet a lot of people on the way in the major leagues, playing for 11 years. We played in the Hall of Fame game in '86 in Cooperstown. And I got to meet President Bush, Sr., great man. Enjoyed doing that. And one night after a game in Kansas City, then George Brett and Billy Crystal went out and sat down and had a couple of drinks one night. And people look at Billy Crystal and think, oh, he's crazy, you know, fun. But he was the most quietest person you ever seen. He just sat there and hardly ever said a word. But very polite man, very polite. And that's some of the times, great times like that. Remember, George Strait, Whitney Houston, and Huey Lewis. And if I wouldn't have started here at Claremore, I wouldn't have been able to meet all those great people. College has done great to me here. And some of the great players, Hall of Famers I played with in Boston. Got to play with Yaz, Carly Stricksky, Tony Perez, Dennis Eckersley, Wade Boggs. And then when I got with Kansas City, naturally, George Brett. And still to this day, call him one of my best friends in baseball. We still talk a lot. It's Bo Jackson. Bo was a very, very good friend of mine. We still talk, shoot texts back and forth and everything. Then when my brother died, Bo was one of the first teammates I called. And we talked on the phone for probably an hour. And people think Bo Jackson, you know, great star. He's probably one of the best athletes ever. But you get to know Bo Jackson, he's one of the most nicest guys you ever want to meet in your life. And he sat there and talked to me, and it helped me out tremendously. So guys like that I played ball with, and it was fantastic. And you think of the all the athletes, baseball players, Little Salina, Mace County. You think of all the major league players that came out of Mace County. Been quite a few. I'd write them all down. Naturally, Mickey Mantle. You know, he's born in Spavital, Mace County. Johnny Brady from Shogo. Bob Davis, Locust Grove. Adrian Hauser, still pitching, great pitcher, Locust Grove. Cliff Mays, Pryor. So Mace County, there's some good little athletes coming out of Mace County. Good little athletes. But I just want to thank CJC, Thunderbirds. I remember me and Josh were talking about that, trying to remember where the old baseball field was. I think it was the dorms or something there now. It'd be nice if we'd have a stadium like they have it now, they wouldn't, Coach. It'd been real nice. But, no, I enjoyed my time here, the 2 years I spent here. And thank the good Lord for it. And I want to thank my mom and dad. They were my first agents. They were my agents. I remember when after season was over with, there was a deadline in Major League Baseball. If you sign before May 21st, you can talk to anybody you want to. After May 21st, you're going to the draft. The stinking Yankees. There's no Yankee lovers in here. No, stinking Yankees, they wanted me to go to the draft. So I didn't want to. So we had, gave each team, I think it ended up being 16 teams, came to the house there in Salina. And mom and dad was my agents. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she played basketball here at CJC. She was the secretary taking phone calls. And then mom and dad decided to, give each team 2 chances. So they'd come in, negotiate this and that and everything. And then there was a little kind of stuff going on, and then there was the Cubbies and the Red Sox. Cubbies ended up offering me more money, but I like the Red Sox, the strength. So me and Mom and Dad, we talked, and we called Danny Doyle, and he was a scout. We told him, I think I signed for like $49,000 or $50,000 back in 1978. Now, Bob Horner, the #1 pick before that year, he got like 60-some thousand. So I was pretty close, pretty close. But no, so I had great agents. Sat there and got the contract signed and had fun with it. But my wife wanted me to put this, she wrote this name down there. My wife said I had to tell you about this research on chances of playing Major League Baseball. Do I have to? She's the boss. What's that saying? Happy wife is a happy life. So it said the odds of becoming a Major League player is .0017 chance. The odds of struck by lightning is higher. Also, the odds of playing in a World Series is a lot less. Approximately 86.2% of Major League players never had the opportunity to play in the World Series. Once again, Coach Martin, you got me there. You taught me the game just like with my dad. And I want to thank you. Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Butch. And all of my family. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome. What a great group of individuals. Let's give them another round of applause. Well, today is a very busy day. If you have some time, please come out and support the Hillcats. Right now, baseball is playing a doubleheader versus Rockers at the Diamond Sports Complex. The women's basketball game starts in 30 minutes. Men are following it right after that. Today is homecoming, and we're going to crown a new homecoming king and queen. And so it's a busy day, but the day is about these four individuals and foremost. Thank you all for coming. Go Hillcats.